Georgia quarterback Gunnar Stockton is climbing into college football stardom, and he is my quarterback of the week.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Guys, it's time to talk about the quarterbacks. We're going to discuss our quarterbacks of the week, those stock rising quarterback performances and those stock falling quarterback performances. But before we can get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use freely across the app. Let's talk about Keith, our QBs of the week. Can I go to, and this is a guy that I had to really get it because he's a junior. Gunnar Stockton, man. Gunnar Stockton is playing some good ball, Keith. 84% completion percentage versus Ole Miss. 289 yards passing. I believe he had another 50 or 60 or so on the ground as a runner. 5 total touchdowns, 4 passing, 1 rushing. Listed, I believe, around 6'1", like 210. This dude he's good, man. He's playing good ball right now. And for a defense that is fun, because this is a young team that Georgia has. Yeah, 6'1", 215. This team that Georgia has is young. And this young man, Gunnar Stockton, is growing before our eyes. And what I like is that even when the defense is giving up points, he's able to keep everything going, and to use your phrase, going and flowing, Keith. Like, he keeps it going and flowing. And I like the arm talent he has. I like the playmaking ability off script playmaking ability, his ability to work out of the pocket, keep his eyes downfield and make the throws. But then, like, the deep ball, and that's what something I remember early in the season, people were worried, like, man, they're not pushing the ball down the field. He's getting the ball down the field. He had a throw, like a great throw to Kobe Young against tight man coverage. I think on like a crosser or a corner route early in that game, just like a long handoff. The placement, the accuracy. This young man's stock is on the rise for me, Keith, and if he continues to play this way, Georgia will be in the CFP. They most likely will be in. Because at the end of the day, you think the Tennessee game, another game where your defense is getting shredded, and they found their footing, and then they got shredded again in that game, but you kept fighting back. And against Ole Miss, like, Trinidad Chambers made some good plays and throws in that game, Keith. Like, every time Ole Miss scored, I was like, man, Georgia, you better score this next drive, because if you don't, they might score again, and then they're gonna start pulling away from you. But Gunnar Stockton just kept going. Shout out to Mike Bobo, calling the game that allowed him to get the ball to Zachariah Branch. Got the tight ends involved. I'm like, you know what? This is what it's supposed to look like, guys. This is what we talk about on this show. Lawson Lucky had three receiving touchdowns. Oscar Delp got into the mix. I'm like, all right, we're getting the ball to our playmakers now. It feels good, doesn't it? Yeah, like, you see that the offense is supposed to look like.
Yeah, I mean, if you recruit them, and that's what we used to say at LSU, right? If you recruit them, use them, right? Why spend all the time recruiting all these 5-star players if you're not even giving them the football? So I agree. I'm right there with you, DP. And more importantly, Gunnar is showing up when they need him. And this was the second game this season, and we mentioned it on yesterday's podcast, and we mentioned it even last week, right? Was the matchup that they had was that week 2 or 3 against Tennessee, and they were down big, and he just kept chipping away, and they wound up winning that game, which I think a game that collectively after the first quarter was like, oh, this might be a blowout, right? Tennessee's gonna run away with this, and it seems like it's an added element to this Georgia offense that I'm not sure the last time we seen this, to where Georgia's offense can put up 40 when needed via the air. I don't know if we've ever gotten this version of it, because even with Stetson Bennett, and that might be the last time their offense. Well, Carson Beck played solid. I'll say give it maybe that 2023 with Carson Beck.
Yeah.
And then maybe a year with Stetson Bennett, maybe, but that was still more defensive run game. But to see this Georgia offense play like that, I mean, is huge. And Gunnar Stockton, I agree with you, DP. there are no measurables that you sitting there saying, wow, right? Like you say, he's sitting around that somewhere, maybe right under 6'2" ish, 210, 215 pounds. But listen, it goes a long way to just make good decisions, make accurate passes, and get rid of the football. So
Yeah.
having to isolate Gunnar Stockton and figure out what who he is as a quarterback prospect, I think is going to be the next step. And I mean, it seems crazy, but could we potentially be on the collision course of a Alabama and Georgia rematch at this point, right?
Rematch.
Which could be very interesting overall. So I like the Gunnar Stockton, and I'll even say this: it's because DP, the conversation around him has been quiet because in between the Tennessee game and the Ole Miss game, right? They ran across Alabama, they lost that game. He didn't play bad. He didn't play
No.
great. He didn't play bad. It was 13 to 20 for 130 yards, one touchdown, no interceptions, right? No turnovers. The Kentucky game, he went one touchdown, one interception, 196 yards. And then the Auburn game, he had a 65% completion percentage and zero touchdowns. So over that 1, 2, 3 game stretch, it was only two touchdowns and one interception. So from a statistics standpoint, he's been fairly quiet, right, as far as putting
Yeah.
up numbers. But you see that Alabama game, you see that Tennessee game, and I mean, I'm sorry, you see the Ole Miss game, you see the Tennessee game, and you're like, okay, that's good data points. Um, DP, the guy I gotta go with, and this is more of a feeling for me. And I mean, in just looking at the landscape of college football, right? I have to continue to give credit to Fernando Mendoza and what he's been doing. And listen, it's been a slow curve for me, DP, but I think I'm turning the curve some, right? And I'm gonna say some. I have to give him some credits. Obviously a stock up guy, but when you watch that game, just the throws that he was able to make, right? It's like, okay, starting to really see the arm talent pop off and just some of the things he was able to do. So for him, it wasn't a big time matchup, right? But they went in there, did what they're supposed to do. It's more so about isolating his single game performances and like, man, that was pretty good. Like those are some good throws and good process as a quarterback.
Yeah, I think for him is just like, he's continued what I walk away from, Keith, when I was like, really looking at that game. He had four incompletions in this game.
Yeah,
Four
efficient.
passing touchdowns. He's super efficient. And again, when you play tough competition like an Iowa defense, a Oregon defense, especially on the road both times, you expect to deal with the ebbs and flows and different things like that. But Fernando Mendoza, what he's doing for me is he's separating himself from the pack of the quarterbacks. Because like the only other guy, the guy up into that Oregon game, the guy I had really nipping at his heels was Dante Moore. But the way Dante Moore was playing, like he was playing lights out. And especially that Penn State game and how he played. I was like, still there were some things over. He looks young at times, but I'm like, man, this kid is calm, cool, collected, like his arm, like his mobility. He gives you the best of both. He gives you the best of both worlds. I can win in the pocket, I can win out of the pocket, right? And everything's like that. But on same ground, same turf, same stadium, Fernando is the guy to come out and really be able to separate himself from Dante and then to go in this game. And I think their schedule real quick, Keith. Man, this schedule, Keith, I'm not about to jinx them, so I'm not gonna say what I was thinking. But they got UCLA, who that's the game that some people are like, okay, that could be a trap game.
Be
This
interesting.
coming, I think this Saturday, right? They're at home. You got Nico Iamaleava playing well. That team is like playing with confidence that they weren't playing with before. But they got UCLA. They go on the road to Maryland, who has the 5-star freshman Malik Washington, who's a baller. They got Penn State, who just lost to Iowa. So they go to Penn State. They host Wisconsin, who put up 0 points against Ohio State, and then they go to Purdue. Yeah, you guys know where I'm going, but I'm not going to go there and say it because I'm not going to be the one to jinx them. But the point is, they can end up running this table or end up with one loss and still make the Big Ten championship game, face Ohio State, right? Like you get the tiebreaker with Oregon because you beat Oregon. Yeah, like this team could end up being one of the dangerous teams in the CFP because keep their defense is playing well too. Like I don't think they've given up more than the most points they gave up was 20, and that was to Oregon on the road. They were in Oregon, so the way
Mhm.
Mendoza's playing, man, you got to tip your cap to him, and he's just adding more data points, and stacking wins, stacking performances, showing what he can do. I can blow teams out when I need to, but in those tough moments, I can come through in the clutch, and I love what he's done so far.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. Let's move to stock rises, right? Where we have an overall conversation about which quarterbacks, right? Which quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft landscape stock is elevating. They made themselves into the top 10 and we rearranged that order just a little bit. So let's have that conversation coming up next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every single ride, with more IIHS top safety pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings this same intention to how we craft every single model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything you'd like, but from smooth handling to intuitive controls, with all-wheel drive standard in every single crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. So like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Those stock rising performances, Keith, I go to the USF FAU game, and I go to Byron Brown, 6'3", 230. This young man, he's got an impressive skill set to me in terms of physical ability, right? Like, he's a true dual threat. And this is one of those guys, if you're a safety, you don't really want him running down the barrel, because at full speed at 230, he's going to lower that shoulder. He does not shy away from contact whatsoever. He actually embraces contact. You don't see many quarterbacks stiff-arming defensive backs and linebackers and different things like that, and be able to fight through contact from a 300-pound defensive tackle. But Byron Brown brings that. But not only that, Keith, he can throw the football, right? He threw against FAU. He threw for 256, 3 touchdowns and everything. Last week against North Texas, 245, 3 touchdowns. He had the last, I would say, 4 games, he's thrown for, I believe, 14 touchdowns over the last 3 or 4 games. So we know he can make plays with his legs. He make plays with his arm, and I would not be surprised. He's got 3 consecutive 100-yard rushing games as well, and he's rushed in that same time frame. He's ran for 4 rushing touchdowns. This dude is just a baller, man. And I think, Keith, I think about teams because at the end of the day, I want my backup to be able to replicate what my starter can do in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
So, yep. Keith, for example, look at the Baltimore Ravens. Why is Cooper Rush your backup quarterback? He can't do what Lamar Jackson can do. Not saying that Byron Brown can do the exact same thing, but you can run a similar. You can run the offense.
Yeah, you can call the same
you can
plays.
Call the same exact plays. I think the teams that should absolutely look at drafting this young man is the Baltimore Ravens, for one, and the Philadelphia Eagles, Keith. I think that day 3, that 5th, 6th round, and I think he might tear up the combine. You know what I mean? Come in there, look good, in shirts and shorts, be able to rip off throws, and then run. If he decides to run, this young man at 230 busts a 4.5 flat, and you're like, okay, we can work with that. You know what I mean? And I know that, and then that allows them to trade Tanner McKee. You got Kyle McCord if you're an Eagles team, or if you're the Ravens, because remember the Ravens were in on Shedeur Sanders. Now, different skill sets from Lamar, but we know Shador be able to run the offense better than Cooper Rush in terms of like getting the ball out quick, things like that. Cooper looked like he's over his head in this offense. You know what I mean? He's a veteran. So they clearly want to upgrade the backup position. I just think Byron Brown, in terms of rising his stock, I'm not saying, guys, he's going to be a first or second round pick and a potential starter in year 1 or 2, but he's raising his stock to where teams say, you know what, we need a good QB2 that fits what we do. Yeah, that's the guy I would draft in this class in terms of that. If I had a dual threat quarterback, a Lamar, a Jalen Hurts, I'm trying to think if there's any other true dual threats starting right now. Hey, even Buffalo behind Josh Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know Josh Allen like is a dual threat guy in a sense. Yeah, like I would draft if I'm Buffalo, I'm drafting them too because many times.
The Commanders, DP.
With Jaden. So like, you know, right now it's been Marcus Mariota. Heck, you can still keep Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's the elder statesman in the room. But I'm definitely drafting the Byron Brown because just in case something happens and you need to run the ball heavy, I can run it with Jacory Krosky-Merritt, but I also got Byron Brown who can tote the rock as well from the quarterback position and give us a semblance of a run game with his legs.
Yeah, and for, you know, I guess our listeners that's thinking, oh, okay, well, he won't be a first rounder. Let's move on, right? But, I mean, we've seen, I think last year, DP, oh, man, I told you I'm not a stats guy, and this was somewhere floating. So, listen, when I say the stats, you got to put it in some general area, right? For NFL quarterbacks who played that started last year, so the 2024 season, it was somewhere around 50, give and take 5.
Yeah, it was a high
somewhere
number.
around,
it was a high
it was like 50 quarterbacks, right? So what I'm saying is, DP, that's almost double the number of starters, right? So you got 32 NFL quarterbacks, that's plus 18. So a backup quarterback is very important, and we've seen that with the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? That was last week, right? That's Thursday of last week, and how important that was. So I agree with that. DP, my stock riser, man, this is a young man, and I feel like I have enough data points now to go into this. Damian Minso from Duke, and they lost this week, man. But when I pull up his stats, 17 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This young man is listed at 6'3", 205 pounds. He's a red shirt sophomore, so he's draft eligible. And even in the Georgia Tech game, DP, that they lost, he went 32 for 44, which he threw 44 times. So you're talking about a high volume of passes. He had a 72.7% completion percentage with 373 yards, right? It's one of those situations, and he had no interceptions. So can't say that he lost the game for you, right? No. And I look at him, his stretch of interceptions, he had, ironically enough, he had one against his former team against Tulane, right? Which was probably him wanting to force something. And then he had another loss against Illinois. So they had that 2-game, losing streak. He threw an interception, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, that little stretch. But he's been playing very efficient football, DP. And this is a guy that's athletic. And he to me, he borders on that kind of dual threat-ish type of, right? And you may put him more in the mobile quarterback area, but God is playing good football. And in the next segment, when we talk to stock followers, we have to start paying attention to these guys because there are collectively probably about 4 or 5 quarterbacks that came in that we thought were going to be those guys, and they just simply aren't being those guys right now. So it's up to us we got to fill in the names, right? We have to kind of side through this. So I want to mention him, and then USC quarterback Jaden Mayava playing fairly good football, I think, at this point. And he's showing that when it comes to operating some type of, whether being in a shotgun, running some type of spread offense, he can get the football out of his hands. And I think what we're seeing is that the USC teams, which was the same thing at Oklahoma for Lincoln Riley, is that the trenches matter. And that's why Caleb Williams had to be special and do really crazy things at USC to win the Heisman and put USC in a conversation to potentially be a championship type of program. And you've seen ever since Caleb wasn't able to be Superman, we've getting quarterback play that's like, okay, it's good, but not great. And it still goes back to the trenches, right? As far as the offensive line, establishing the run game, things like that. And so I think Jay Mayaba, when I watch him, I see a lot of talent. I just don't know if that talent is going to equate to overall team wins consistently. But we'll see. But I think he's playing good football.
Oh yeah, he's been playing good football all year. He's got some turnover worthy plays where he kind of channels that superhero mentality that Caleb has. But I think physically Caleb is a tier above him in terms of
Yeah,
arm
one
talent and
million
stuff like
percent.
that. Like, so it's like you can't do what Caleb does because he's just a little bit more physically gifted than you are. But you see the ability to work the quick game, his
So
accuracy. I love the processing at times. Where I can't remember which game was it, the Michigan game? Yeah, like there's like he makes really quick decisions when he's in rhythm. Like hit the seam to the tight end, knowing he's uncovered, things like that. Finding like the droppers in zone and everything. But like you said, it's the trenches, the old line not being able, like they couldn't really run the ball. You know what I mean? Against Notre Dame's defensive front. Notre Dame, like we're gonna
I
run the ball
wonder,
all over y'all.
yeah, I wonder if it starts to become a point where those guys feel like, man, we gotta make a play, right? I have to do something heroic to keep us in the game, because I agree with you.
Yep.
Like when it's timing and rhythm and it's quick game stuff, and he has to work short to intermediate, and he has a clean, like he delivers a football, he delivers an accurate pass, good velocity, on time, all of those things. I think it's when potentially dialing up the deep shots or feeling like, man, getting behind the chains, things like that, to where, like you said, he tries to play hero ball, which he's not even as athletic or maybe explosive as a Caleb Williams is.
Yeah.
So it falls short of that kind of that marker.
Him, Jaden Mayava, Taylor Green, Lenora Sellers, they're behind. They are the guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think out of all of them, I would look at Jaden Mayava and say you have the best team around you, but still, yet the offensive line. Like at the end of the day, no matter how much we want to give all the love to quarterbacks, if that front five ain't right, that quarterback ain't gonna be right. That's just the nature of the business. And those are three quarterbacks that are typically in situations at times where they have to try and make those superhuman plays or those off script plays, those hero ball plays. I see it with Taylor Green every time I watch him. I'm like, yeah, that defense. It's almost like watching Cam Ward in Miami last year, where it was like this defense can't stop a nosebleed. And it was like, if y'all could just stop, can you string together two stops? I promise you, me and the offense can get you 14.
Yeah,
like it just they lost the game 45-42, and it's just like, all right, what else y'all want from me? I have 5 touchdowns a day. You know what I mean? Like, what else can I do? I think that's something that happens a lot in college football. But then, Keith, that's why when these guys go to the NFL, it's all about landing spots even more so. Because I talked about it with Drake May. North Carolina put Drake May in that position. I'm like, hey, now as a coaching staff, you draft Drake May, you tell him, hey, we're going to get the run game going. We're going to get you some quick options. We're going to get you receivers, and we're going to play good defense. You don't have to do everything, because he's used to doing everything to keep his team in games. You're going to have to coach that mentality into some of these guys, because they've just been put in these bad situations as prospects.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. Like we talked about QB of the weeks. We talked about the stock rises, man. Let's have this conversation. I'm honestly, it sounds bad, but I'm excited to have the conversation about the stock falls, right? And I never root for people to go downhill, but I think this should make for a good conversation, because the conversation needs to be had. So let's do this, man. Let's talk about some of these quarterbacks whose draft stock has fallen over the past few weeks in the 2026 NFL draft. Let's talk about that coming up next.
So it's brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is in full swing, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You heard me correct. Pick a bet, put down $5, just $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets that you can use freely across the app. I mean, you can use it to bet on player props, building that same game parlay that you feel is going to hit for everything, and even jumping into the live game action as it is unfolding. So my one question to you for this deal you don't want to miss is, what are you waiting for? Go and visit FanDuel.com right now and download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Those stock falling performances, Keith, you mentioned him yesterday. I didn't say anything because I knew I had this in the tuck for today. And that's Carson Beck, man. Carson Beck for the Miami Hurricanes, a guy that for most of this season has looked like not just a potential, maybe climbs to the back end of the first, maybe a team that says, you know what, I'll say this. Carson Beck, he's about to be 23 next month. He's the type of quarterback that those teams that the Shanahan teams that, hey, we have everything, but we don't have that experienced seasoned quarterback. This is the type of guy they would draft in round one. Remember, Al Shanahan wanted to draft Mac Jones third overall.
Mhm.
We feel we have the roster to win now. We don't need to take a Anthony Richardson, a Trey Lance if you feel like you can win right now. That's what Carson Beck is. But against Louisville Friday night, don't get me wrong, he completed almost 71.5% of his passes for 271 yards. He threw 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I would say I could probably say maybe one of those interceptions wasn't on him. All but the rest were. And it was a decision making. And it's just like Carson Beck is Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And I think you said it was like, I don't know which version of Carson Wentz I'm going to get prior to the game starting. And that's a scary thought.
Yeah,
It's like,
no, I mean, if you the head coach, right? If I'm Mario Cristobal, I gotta ask you, like, hey, bro, how you feeling, right? Like, what we risk taking or we
right?
feeling good?
If you tell me that I woke you hit me with that Baker Mayfield quote from years ago. He had that trench coat on. I woke up feeling dangerous. I'm gonna go ahead and bench it. I'm gonna go ahead and bench it because I know there ain't nothing good coming from that quote.
I'm firing up Mark Fletcher. I'm telling Mark, listen, you will touch the ball 40 times this game.
Brother, you and these running backs, we're rushing the 50 times today. We are not letting Carson go out here feeling dangerous, but he's got to find that. He's got to find that balance, Keith. Like, I get it. You want to make plays at times and things like that. I will give him credit. He's made some. He's looked more functional. Even last year, he showcased he's got more functional athleticism than people give him credit for. He doesn't always take sacks. Like, he can get out of trouble at times just from his pocket movement and navigation. But then it's like, okay, reset and throw, and then he throws into a window with 3 defenders. And I'm like, Carson, that is not what we need to be doing. So big stock fall in performance from Carson Beck.
Yeah, and I mean, I outlined how I felt, right? And I think what I took from that, DP, is that you told me on yesterday's episode, you kind of ignored me a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I threw it out there, and
I didn't want to show my hand, Keith.
You didn't want to unload the clip, right?
I had to wait. I had to wait till the day.
I get it. Oh man, I'm gonna go with. I got to do it. Garrett Nussmeier. And I have to do it, and I have more questions. And talking to our Locked On family, and how I feel right now about Garrett Nussmeier, I have more questions than I do answer. And I've written up his scouting report already, right? And it felt good, right? Okay, cool. I got Garrett Nussmeier's scouting report knocked out first couple weeks. I have a whole season before, right? A couple games where he played even a year before. I feel good about this. This is done. Yeah. And this might be one of those scouting reports I have to go back to. And also with that, I have to go back into the film to really see where to assign blame, right? In it, because it's tough when we go through these evaluations, DP, and you've seen something. And I'm not talking about for one quarter, one game.
Yeah.
Usually if you get a season of a guy playing pretty good football, then you feel pretty good about who he is as a quarterback, right? And not seeing that right now. But I also think about it, and this is why, and I'm so glad we have this conversation documented, right? When we talked about the split season that he did have when he was productive, right? The first half of the season versus the back half of the season. And now this appears to be the back half of the season continuing into this season. Right, like it's just like the movie said, to be continued. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And I'm just wondering what's the blame, right? Is it and I've obviously in Baton Rouge, live in Baton Rouge, a whole lot of things. I've heard a whole lot of former players. They've been outspoken, like guys like T-Bob Hebert. I think he's on Barstool or something like that right now. But spoke about the offensive coordinator, spoke about the run game, spoke about just offensive line issues, everything under the sun, right? And I want to jump back into the film because something is off. And I think Nussmeier has natural arm talent, but right now he's playing himself, to be completely honest, into a second round conversation and not a first round conversation. And that's unfortunate because you've seen some first level talent. Like it was last year, probably right around this time, where people were saying this is the best quarterback in the nation last year.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I'm just, conversation around Garrett Nussmeier.
Yeah, it's definitely a prospect. I finished his eval probably a couple of weeks ago, and I felt good about it too, Keith. I was like, yeah, all right, that's one done. I'll keep tabs on him throughout the season and things like that. And that was even taking account the early struggles within the offense and play calling and new weapons and everything. And I'm like, it's a lot of these guys are kind of. They didn't play a lot with them last year, like Xavier Thomas and stuff like that. And
and that's what
Anderson
I'm saying. Like,
and all
you
that.
don't know if to throw all of that into the mix, right? Like, there's no cohesiveness, or you don't know if like every game is something different. And then also, I'm looking at this, right? Because you got the Chris Hiltons, like you said, the Nick Andersons, the Barry and Browns. Like,
The
does
big
he
tight
have
end, I can't
Bauer Sharp? Oh no, Trey Green.
Trey Green. Yeah, like he looks like he might be a first round player by the time he does come out. It's 6'7", 240. Like, but it just seems like new cast of characters, and him trying to find his way. Because I just don't see. Don't get me wrong. He still has like 9 to 10 turnover worthy plays this season. But still, yeah. So like he's still making throws that you don't want him to make. But like from a confidence standpoint, I don't see the guy that was ripping throws last year with no problem.
Remember, I told you, DP, it was the conversation about nothing. I told you this is what I seen. It was that in that 2025, 2024. It's so trying to add up all these years. 2024 season, right? When he started off, and you will put him in the Brett Favre gunslinger mentality, right?
Facts.
And then it was that Texas A&M game, I believe, right? When they're throwing Shamar Stewart's and Nick Scourtons and all those guys at him, and he had a few turnovers. And I remember there being, up until that point, he was, oh my God, this might be the best quarterback in the nation. LSU might have another Heisman guy. And then up until that point, and then the conversation narrative flipped, right? And it flipped just me even being in Baton Rouge. Like, man, Nussmeier has to stop with the turnovers. They have to teach him how not to turn the football over. And I feel like since that inflection point, it's been a guy that even before he pulls the trigger, he's thinking about if I should. And it's trying to find the good calculated balance of being a gunslinger and also protecting the football that I think he's still trying to find.
Keith, I don't even mean to cut you off. I just looked at some of the numbers. That Texas A&M game, because that was his first. Remember, it was Texas A&M and Bama. He had 5 interceptions between those two games, right? Yep. From that point forward, that was week 9 of the season last year. Yeah, week 9, 10. Like he played, it was even into the bowl game. He had about 10 turnover-worthy plays from week 9 to the end of the season. Like it really started. Like he had some in the first half of that season. But it was so much more consistent game to game after, like, once that Texas A&M game started. That was the game that kind of broke the season for him.
Yep. No, and it's definitely something to pay attention to, just, I guess, overall, right? Just like what are the, those kind of data points and what's going on. And because last year he finished with 29 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. This year, I believe he's at 9 touchdowns. Let me make sure 11 touchdowns. I'm sorry, and 5 interceptions. So
that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's just I don't want to call it a fall off, but it's a lack of production somewhere, and trying to figure it out. So I'm
let him be the gunslinger. Just live with it.
No, listen. At this point, you ain't got nothing to lose, right? You're sitting with 2 losses and
2 losses.
Yeah, Ole Miss and Vanderbilt. So yeah, you ain't even get into the thick of it, but definitely wanted to have that conversation because I want to return back to the film and kind of figure out what's going on. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we like to say, man, y'all can talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.